Okay, welcome everybody to today's Power Play. Super excited for the topic today. We've got Ellis Hammond with us, going to be talking about mastering the art of sustainable growth and wealth multiplication, specifically how to do that through real estate investing, real estate acquisition, all of that good stuff. So we'll bring him up here in just a bit. We'll give it another minute or so for some more people to join on, but kind of while we're doing that, please feel free to kind of use the comments, the chat box as your question space. So throughout the presentation, if you do have any questions, go ahead and type them up, put them in there, and we will get them to our speaker at the end of the presentation. We'll have probably 10 to 15 minutes or so for Q&A. So please, any questions you have, and we'll remind you guys throughout as well, but go ahead and include them there. Like I said, I'm very excited to introduce Ellis. He actually, and this is something I just found out about, that he started off before really diving into real estate as a pastor. He started as a pastor for 6 years and now kind of uses that sort of as a motivation for his real estate investing. But he is the CEO of a group called Symphony Capital Group. He's led them to acquisitions of over $150 million in commercial real estate just in the last couple of years, since 2021. And like I said, he's kind of used his faith now to teach other professionals, other people about real estate investing, and kind of tied that all into where he really started in the ministry. So without further ado, I will go ahead and bring up Ellis. We've had a little bit of technical issues, but you should be able to hear him. Ellis, are you with us now?
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. So we'll try to see if we can get Ellis's picture up throughout the presentation, but I appreciate y'all's patience. Just had some issues. We want to make sure that y'all can hear him clearly, and that was kind of the best way to go about it. So I will go ahead and bring up your stream, and without further ado, just let you hop right into it.
All right. Do I look good on your end? Full screen?
Yep, it looks great. Thanks so much, Ellis.
Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, thanks for your patience in not sharing my screen. I probably, like many of you, am using the summer to vacation with my family and young kids. So my Wi-Fi is not strong here on the western slope of the Colorado mountains, but really, really glad to be with you all here today. We're going to talk about mastering the art of sustainable growth and wealth multiplication. That is the title of today. And so looking forward to jumping in. So let's not waste any time. Feel free to drop your questions in the comments, and we'll spend some time here at the end to get into this. But really, really glad to be here together with you. Here's why this topic matters. The multiplication of money is the number one factor you must know to build serious wealth. And let me explain what I mean. It is simply no longer enough to know how to just make money, but have no clear strategy on how to create 2, 5, even 10x returns. And so here's just a question I want to ask several of you before we get in, and I'd love to interact in the comments. I'm a pastor at heart. I was a pastor for 6 years. You heard, so I love some good amens. I love some good raised hands. So interact with me a little bit today, because that will really keep me alive and hopefully keep this entertaining for you. Let me just ask you this question: are you satisfied with your results today? I'm assuming that because you're on this webinar with me, the answer is no, because regardless if you've had success or not, you want greater success. That's why you're here. And let me ask you this way: will you agree? For those of you who've had success, you know what that looks like. Or for those of you who are on your path to success, will you agree that if you want radically different results from that of your peers, that you are going to have to take radically different actions? If so, just let me know if you agree with that statement. Do you think if you want radically different results from that of your peers, that you're going to have to take radically different actions? Or do you think you can just get by and have radically different results by doing the same thing? I think we know the answer to that question. And that's what I want to get in today. I am a former pastor turned entrepreneur and investor. We started a company called Kingdom REI. It's the largest faith-based mastermind organization for real estate CEOs in the country. We serve active real estate investors, teaching. We both have an education arm where we teach people how to break into small apartment buildings, and then we run a mastermind community for real estate CEOs. I'm the co-founder and managing principal of Symphony Capital Group, as was originally stated. And our goal is to really help passive accredited investors own real estate without the hassle and begin to build wealth alternatively outside of the stock market. And we've currently partnered with over 100 investors and own and manage more than $150 million of multifamily real estate through Symphony Capital Group. But here's a little bit more of my story, and maybe a little bit more personal for you today. And I hope that this resonates with many of you. My first money mentor was my father. He retired at the age of 40 years old, I think, because he started working when he was 14. My dad was very successful. He started his own business. He was we sold. I say we because I spent most of my childhood at the business, but he was a boat salesman, a boat tradesman, and he was successful, but admittedly spent his whole life trading time for money. And at the age of 55, my father passed away due to a sudden stroke. And what's interesting is that what I remember most about his mentality in those 15 years, from 40 to 55, in those retirement years, even though my dad was an amazing father, he was at our sports games, he washed all of our dirty laundry after practice, all of those things. What stuck out to me so much was how much he worried about money in those years of retirement. He was a man who worked his whole life until the age of 40. And from the time of 40 to 55, he still worried about money. And looking back, what I realized is that my dad was incredible at making money. He was good. He was good at it. Like, we never had to worry about money. But also, he didn't know how to multiply it into his retirement. And so that worry of not knowing how to multiply his money, it made him frugal. It made him stressed. It kept him from being as generous as I'm sure my dad wished he could have been. And so this is really when my investing journey begins. My dad passes away, and he leaves what some might call an inheritance. You know, this might be large for some and very little for others. But he left me and my brother with $147,000 after all of his life work. That was what was left on the table. And so, like many Americans, I had no idea what to do. I mean, if you were, imagine being 21 years old and, what else do you do? So I trusted it to a financial advisor. And traditional wealth building advice tells us to put it away for 40 years and wait for retirement. Anybody can relate to that? Probably not here. This is a self-directed IRA webinar. I love that. This is my type of people. But this is what 98% of Americans are doing with their wealth. And then something happened. I was serving as a college pastor, and so I spent out of college serving as a youth pastor at Indigo State University. And love what I did. My faith is very important to me. I love helping other young people and people in general just answer the bigger questions about life and learn about who God is and who God says they are, and what that means. And I was doing that. We were building a ministry on the West Coast, and we were 100% donor based, meaning we had to raise all the funds we needed in order to support our ministry, in order to support ourselves. And we were about 4 years into the ministry, and one of the young men on my team came to me and said, "Ellis, I saw it on his face, something was wrong." And he said, "Ellis, I don't have enough money this month to buy groceries." And it was in that moment, and I don't have time to get into it today with a 40-minute webinar, but up to that point, I wanted nothing to do with money. I saw what money did. I saw my dad worry about money. My parents divorced at 10 years old. I saw how money hurt them. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to have anything to do with money. I'm just going to go into ministry because that's where I can live out my greatest impact. But it was in this moment where this young man who was trying to live his life for a great purpose, who loved God, who was trying to help others, you know what the one thing he needed in this moment? The one thing he needed to make a bigger impact on this world? Anybody want to put in the comments? It was money. It was money. And so my entire mission changed. What I decided is that I decided to commit to learning about how to build wealth, multiply money with my life, how to make it, how to multiply it, and how to make it matter. And so here's Again, I didn't know what to do, right? I just made the decision. So I said, okay, where do I start? Well, the most obvious place to start was to go back to where the little bit of money I did have. I went back to my financial advisor. And I was hopeful that because I'd followed traditional wealth building advice, I mean, heck, it had been 6 years. You would have thought that, like, I gave to a guy who knew what he was doing, supposedly, that my money had grown. What do you think happened? Nothing happened. Nothing had changed. It was still the same amount that I put in there. And it wasn't because it wasn't invested in growth stocks. And there are millions of Americans, maybe you can relate to this story today, that you were dissatisfied with traditional wealth building advice, with traditional wealth building methods. And so what went wrong? Because I started to ponder, well, then what the heck happened? And what I realized over the last many years now of actually investing capital, raising millions of dollars, investing in alternative assets, I fell for the two lies of the financial wealth building sector. And the lies are this. Myth number one is sit it and forget it. This is the myth. This is one of the biggest myths, one of the biggest lies we're told in the financial advising space is sit it and forget it. And you know why that's a lie is because I know as an entrepreneur that what you measure grows. And so the sit it and forget it idea is not to benefit you, but it's rather to benefit Wall Street because they know that the longer you stop paying attention to your money, the more they can earn their fees. And so as long as you say, hey, oh, I got 30, I got 40, I got 50 years, well, then they can still keep collecting their fees regardless of what your portfolio is doing. Myth number two is that what worked for my parents will work for me. So the second lie of the traditional financial advice is what worked for my parents will work for me. And I don't care what generation you're in. I'm a millennial. I don't care if you're Gen Z. I don't care if you're a baby boomer. What worked for your parents will not work for you. Just look at the previous generations. And the reason is because the target is always moving. What was enough to retire 3 or 4 years ago is no longer enough today. What was enough to retire, I mean, even 20 years ago, 10 years ago, is not enough today. The target is always moving. We just printed, I mean, think about how much money we just printed. The number was what, 25% of our money supply since COVID. What do you think that does to the target? And so what does this mean for us? It means it's impossible to plan for retirement. How do I actually know what's going to be enough in retirement? And so what this meant for me is that my investing strategy was based on hope. I was heading down the same path of all of my money mentors: average results, average wealth, and ultimately an average life. And I knew if I didn't begin to take radically different actions than those around me, there would be nobody else to blame but myself. And so I made a decision, and I'm going to talk about that decision today, the things that I've learned, but a lot has changed since making that decision. I picked a better vehicle. I found better mentors, and these decisions have changed my life forever. Is the best way to say that. We built a high six-figure online education company. I'm just going to give you a couple bullet points, and we'll get into this. But this is what's happened since then. We built a very successful online education company. We purchased more than $150 million of commercial real estate since that point. I was named 2020 Investor of the Year by Think Realty Magazine. My wife and I started our family. So you saw my kid on that last slide. We have 2 little babies now. My wife's been able to quit her job and be a full-time mom. And we've helped more than 100 investors multiply their money and start their journey towards financial independence. And so I'm really glad to be with you here today. I feel like I have so many things I want to be able to share, but I've picked just a few to share with you. And so why does this apply? That's a cool story for you, Ellis. But how does this apply to me is probably what you're asking. Well, would you agree that everyone wants options for their life? Ask yourself the question if knowing how to just make money and not multiply it will get you the results you want. And if you look at some of the professions, the highest paid professions, doctors, attorneys, people in the medical field, I know a lot of them. I know a lot of disappointed attorneys who were told the lie, go become a lawyer and never worry about money again. Because it's not enough just to make it if you don't know how to multiply it. And typically we realize this later in life when it can seemingly be too late. And if I can just speak truth for a minute, guys, your current vehicle, your traditional 401k, your traditional IRA, traditional wealth building advice will never get you the results you dream of. And the way that I know this is true, and the way that I think you can know this is true, just look around. Like, look at your parents, look at your friends, like pretty much look at everyone in your network and ask yourself the question, is it working for them? Is that really what I want? Because nothing will change if you don't begin to take wildly different actions than that of your parents, of your friends, of your church members. This is my buddy Chris Underwood. Chris actually was the 38th winner of the Survivor TV show. Any Survivor fans out there today? $1 million cash prize winner. He won $1 million after taxes. He said it was more like 600 grand. He's a top solar sales manager. He says, I would rather scale my income and invest in real estate that's turnkey and managed by a world-class team. A portion of my net worth parked in long-term appreciating assets like multifamily is the perfect diversification for where I'm at in life. And so here's what we were going to cover today. So here were the things we were going to cover, but like any good pastor, I was up early this morning thinking about this webinar and just sensed that I should talk about something different. I wanted to create something new for you all today, and something that I felt like would be different and really resonate with you. Not that these three things don't, but I just sensed that something else was needed today. And so here's what we're going to cover instead. I just want to provide you with a very simple framework that anyone can follow in order to grow their wealth faster. And because I had to change up my slides this morning at 5 a.m., I don't have very sexy slides. Okay. So are you okay if I share something new, but it's simple looking? And I'm going to not go full screen so I can see the chat here. Is that okay? Is it okay if I just share something new, dumb down my slides a little bit? I see your chats here, guys. I love it. Someone said, go Yankees. Do we work with only accredited investors? No, we have opportunities for both folks. But all right, great. I'm seeing some yeses. Awesome. So let's get in. So here's what we're going to cover today. I'll provide you a very simple framework that anyone can follow in order to grow their wealth faster. And I call this the Think Wealthy formula. And so if you're taking notes, this would be a good time to get out the notebook. Okay. And the formula is very simple. Make it, keep it, multiply it, and make it matter. Because what's the point if we actually don't make it matter? We probably don't have a ton of time to get into that last point today, make it matter, but it is very important to me. And I think, Jesus said it's better to give than to receive. And I know that we can't take any of this when we go. But I think it's really important to make it, to keep it, to multiply it so that we can make it matter. But today I really want to focus on the first 3 points, is to make it, keep it, and to multiply it. And so are you guys still with me? Want to make sure. If so, put yes in the chat. But let's jump in. Okay, so make it. I want to say a quick story that really resonated with me this week. This is my father-in-law. I've been getting to spend some time with him this week, which is really special. And we got to go fly fishing the other day. So this is him tying a fly on his fly rod. Any fly fishers in the house? This is like my soul place right here. Like, this is where my soul rests, is beside a stream, getting to cast, fish. And so we got to go fishing. And earlier this week, we were having a conversation about, like, what does retirement look like? And, some of the plans we have and some of the plans he has. And, I'm sure at some point in his future, he's actually a full-time pastor. And at some point in the future, he'll want to retire. And so I was asking him about that. And he made a comment that, like, it's likely that in retirement that my income is going to be reduced, that, I'll be on a limited income was his words. And as I thought about that, I thought that was really interesting, because my father-in-law is a very talented man. Like, he's been in ministry, working alongside of people, counseling, preaching, reading, studying for more than 4 decades. And what was interesting about his comment, and the reason I'm sharing this story with you, is because I think a lot of us do this, that we think that the pinnacle of our money-making abilities stops or begins to go down into our older age. And that was his assumption. Well, no, now that I'm no longer going to have it, when I no longer have, this job, my income should go down. And my question was to him, do you not realize that in a capitalistic society, in the world of entrepreneurship, money is tied to one thing. It's tied to value. And I said, you spent a lifetime acquiring skills and knowledge that the marketplace wants. And unlike sports, you can play business well into retirement years. And so the thing that I just want to give to you today, for many of you who are listening, regardless of where you're at, is, guys, like, typically I'm speaking to those who are maybe in the beginning of their money-making career. I'd love to kind of hear where you're at. I feel like today I was speaking maybe to a little bit older group of folks, in the sense that you're not just at the beginning of your career, you're thinking about investing. And guys, the first step into really building sustainable wealth is we have to make money. And what I don't want you to fall into is this trap of thinking that you're limited just by your W-2, or whenever you retire, no longer, like, no, your value is tied, or your ability to make money is tied to your value. And many of you have acquired amazing skills over your lifetime. You've acquired amazing trust in relationships. And if you're not happy with how much money you make today, my encouragement to you is just do an assessment of how God has gifted you. Do an assessment of the experiences God has put in your life. Do an assessment of the skills that you've worked to develop. It's very, very likely that you can, if you're not happy with how much money you're making today, that you can make more money in the future. That the potential for your money-making ability is not neutral or down for all of you today. It's up. Because we cannot build wealth without making money. I'm going to get more into that today. But I hope that resonates, just because it really resonated with him as we were talking about that this week. And so I wanted to share it. So step number 2 is keep it. Okay, the first step is make it. The second step is to keep it. And here are the 3 wealth killers, okay? Taxes, fees, and I typically just share those 2. But the third one I wanted to speak on today was just divorce. I'm not going to spend a whole time on it, but I was just talking with another guy the other day, and he was telling me the story. He got divorced, and he was saying, man, I would have so much more if I never got divorced, right? Because I had to start over. And so I was like, I'm going to add that one. And I think it's an encouragement to say, guys, if you're married or you're not married today, a weekly date night is a lot more affordable than a divorce. Would you agree? If you're married in the house today, put an amen in the chat. A weekly date night is a lot more affordable. It's a lot less expensive than going to a divorce. Guys, date your spouse. Date your spouse. And touch your spouse. Touch your spouse. I just think there's something about physical touch, and it's hard to be mad at someone if you're daily giving them a hug. I actually read a study the other day that if you hold the hug for 10 seconds, it releases serotonin in your brain. That's a trigger for that's a chemical trigger in your brain that will make you more happy. Will make the other person more happy if you hold a hug for 10 seconds. Try being mad at someone that you give a hug to every day for 10 seconds. So I'm not an expert on marriage, but I wanted to give that to you today. But the thing I want to talk about importantly is taxes. And so this is what we're going to spend the majority of our time in this section about. And I'll tell you another funny story. So I'm at a family game night with the in-laws, and I actually just saw my in-laws walk in. So I got to be a little quiet sharing the story with you. Okay, so my tone might come down because I don't want to get mad. But this is a true story. So family game night with the in-laws, and we were playing a game, and I don't think it was not Monopoly, but it was something similar to Monopoly. And before we started, I took the time to read the rules. It was a new game for us all. None of us had really played it that much. And so I was like, okay, now I should read the rules to the game because we've never played this game. I want to know how to play the game by the rules. So I read the rule book. And as the game progressed, I started to gain what seemed like a pretty unfair advantage. Like, let me just say it this way. I was crushing my family. Okay. Like, I was beating the bricks off of my family at this game. But I wasn't doing anything special. I was just simply following the rules that no one else in my family had read. But what happened next was very interesting to me. I was first accused of cheating. Okay, you guys know how this is going, right? I'm absolutely beating everybody. I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm just following the rules of the game. And then everyone started accusing me of cheating. Ellis, you can't do that. That's not possible. You're cheating. Like, what? I just read the rules. What are you talking about? Then my family proceeded to make up their own rules to disadvantage me. So because I was beating them so bad, and because I was saying, well, these are the rules, they started coming up with their own rules. They never played this game before. They never read the rule book. And then they're creating their own rules so that I can't get ahead. However, we all had the same rules from the beginning. And the reason I shared this with you is because this is exactly what's happening in our country today. These are just headlines that I pulled. How the ultra wealthy devise ways to not pay their share of taxes. Can you see the accusation in this headline? Oh, the ultra, they're coming up with schemes. They're cheating in order to not pay their taxes. Richest Americans pay almost no income taxes, reports find. There's the accusation again. People in the U.S. are able to avoid income taxes by keeping the bulk of their wealth in investments that have little or no taxes. Okay, seems legitimate. How about this one? Biden calls for new taxes on the wealthy. Well, if we can't play their game, let's just come up with our own rules. Oh, we don't like those rules. We don't like that they're playing by the rules and actually getting ahead. Let's come up with our own rules. Sound familiar? Biden's better plan to tax the rich. His budget proposes a levy on unrealized capital gains for high net worth households. That's being tossed around right now. Guys, this is the society we live in. But here's the reality, guys. The rule book was written by landowners for landowners. And so if you want to win the game, if you want to have an unfair advantage, you want to build sustainable wealth throughout your lifetime, you need to own real estate. Period. Not even a question. Would you agree? Somebody give me some love in that. Guys, this is a K1 of mine, or maybe it's one of my investors. No, this is me. You see my name right here. James E. Hammond. My first name is James. My middle name is Ellis. And you can see here that my capital contribution during the year was $100,000. But my net loss, even though we made money on this deal, was almost $70,000. However, this deal pays me every single month in cash flow. And so we benefit from write-offs, including depreciation, bonus depreciation, property and mortgage expenses. All of these result in tax-free income. And so if you've never invested into real estate or you've never seen a K1, this is a real proof. Many of you have, I know, and you know the benefits of this. But this is a real life example of what I mean, that the game benefits those who invest into real estate. The rule book is written for you to take advantage of. And so this is a great example where I can invest money into an asset that's going to continue to grow, continue to appreciate, continue to kick off cash flow, and at the same time, give me massive write-offs that allow me to then offset the taxes on that income and other passive or potentially active income, depending on your professional status. I'm going to breeze through the second strategy for those of you who may be more active investors or looking at investment strategies, but our company focuses on value-added real estate. We want to do cash-out refinances. This is considered loan proceeds and therefore a non-taxable income. And when you do sell a property, you have the option to 1031 your proceeds into another asset and avoid capital gains tax. And so these may be new, these may be familiar with you, but again, this is another great strategy of how to play by the rules and reduce the amount of taxes, one of the killers of wealth in your lifetime. The last thing I want to talk about here that I feel like a lot of people don't know about or don't know enough about is the real estate professional status. And a real estate professional status enables you to convert otherwise passive losses to deductible ordinary losses, meaning you could potentially lower your tax bill down to $0. And so what is a real estate professional? This is how the IRS defines real estate professional. Over half of the personal services you perform during the tax year were in your real estate business. You work more than the minimum threshold of 750 hours during the tax year in real property trades or businesses, material participation in real estate activities. So those are the checklist of real estate professional status. So examples could include an agent, property manager, an asset manager, an investor, construction manager. And the nice thing about this is that if you're married and filed jointly, your spouse can also qualify. Well, if your spouse qualifies, then you get that if you're filing jointly, if that makes sense. And so here's the bottom line about the real estate professional status. It may not be something that you can do next year. It may not be something you can do this year or next year. But here's what I always encourage my investors. Like, consider this a 5 to 10 year strategy. Like, how do I become a real estate professional over the next 5 to 10 years? Talk with your CPA. Figure out how can you or your spouse do one of these roles and potentially qualify as real estate professional. Because guys, $1 million of savings in a year or 2 years is really worth looking into, depending on how much you're investing, because of what the compound growth of that. Would you agree? And so that's all I say to our clients. It's like, you may not be able to do this right now because you're both working. It's impossible to qualify as a real estate professional status. However, I think it's worth the conversation of how do we get there over the next decade, because of how much that's going to allow you to keep of the money that you make into retirement age. This is just a headline. Trump pays no federal income taxes in 10 of the past 15 years, the New York Times reports. And I love that, right? Because he's playing it. It's why he's able to pay no income taxes. However, guys, this is not just for the ultra wealthy. This is one of our investors, Keith Meyer, and he's a real estate broker. He says, in my case, I'm looking to use accelerated depreciation to offset income by getting a K1 that shows losses for the year that offsets some of my income that I have. Another investor, Albert, he's an oil and gas attorney. They own mineral rights, and so they get passive income that comes from mineral rights. And then he also invests in real estate, and he invests in multifamily deals with us and uses depreciation to offset his passive income from his mineral rights. And so again, he's being able to take the depreciation from the real estate and then offset the other income, the other passive income he's getting from these land deals. These land deals, they don't use debt, so there's no depreciation, there's no real tax losses there. So there's this strategy he's employing in order to take advantage of both. So last step here I want to talk about is multiply. So are you guys with me? I'm going to just stop my screen real quick. All right. We're all with me. Here we go. Great. I see it. All right. Lovely. Last one here. Multiply it. Last one is multiply it. I think this is probably one of the more powerful conversations I have with our investors. And I would say there's two types of investors. Okay, and so stick with me. This is really, really key. There are two types of investors. I love this meme, by the way. I love this. Says there are two types of people in the world. Which one are you? And there's this photo of you know what I'm talking about. Like, are you just one of those folks who just squeeze the toothpaste? Like, and it's probably what was always funny is like the husband and wife are always different. Like I love to know which one are you or which one is your spouse, because you know exactly what I'm talking about. You pick up that toothpaste, and if you're the opposite of your spouse, you're like, how does this person live? Right? How does this person live? That's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about something different. There's two types of investors. And what I'm talking about is the type of investors that, one, those who make their money from their business, and those who need to make their money from their investments. Okay? Those who make their money from their business and those who need to make their money from their investments. And let me explain this. If you make your money from your investments, you inherently have to take on more risk. So it's no wonder why many have been lured towards the promises of things like crypto NFTs, meme stocks, right? Because if you can understand what I'm saying, if your income is capped, and is why the first step of the wealth building formula is make money. We have to continue to increase our value as people, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, because if our income is capped, then that forces us to have to make more money from the investments we are taking on. And inherently, if that's the bucket you fall into, and you have a certain goal that you're trying to get to in terms of wealth, you have to take more risk in order to keep up. And I read this. If you guys haven't read this book, fantastic book, The Psychology of Money. But let me just sum it up for you in one sentence. The key to sustainable wealth multiplication is to make the most amount of money for the longest amount of time. And what's interesting in the way that I feel like wealth creation is seen from TV or YouTube or Instagram today, it's let's make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. Like what the 20, the 30, the 40Xs. And you've probably been even lured by some of that. I see that in this alternative space. Like if you don't believe me, just look at the way people market deals. It's all about IRR. It's all about the greatest return. Why? Because they know, the industry knows that that's what people are lured to. They want to make the most amount of money in every single investment. And what this book teaches, and what I also believe, is that the key to sustainable wealth is to figure out, how do I make the most amount of money? Yes, I want the highest return, but I want the highest return over the longest amount of time. Meaning I would rather take a 12 to 15% return over 30 years than have a 30% return on a 2 or 3 year deal. Does that make sense? And so I share this quick part with you. You know, I think about time and years and predictability, because this is ultimately how we grow money. Like, you need time and you need predictability of how your assets grow. And I chart a couple of these things. I think NFTs are, first of all, they're, if you know what an NFT anymore, they wouldn't talk about these, but they're the least predictable because they're new. No one knows what they are. They're art on images. And we've had no time. Bitcoin, is interesting. Like, depending on how long you hold Bitcoin, it's very unpredictable. It's a very volatile asset. But if you give it enough time, it's potential that it's going to make money. It has shown that if you hold this for a long enough period of time, that it may make money. It may not, though. That's why it's on the left side over here from a predictability standpoint. The S&P 500, it is shown that over time, given enough time, that it will make a decent amount of money, but it needs a long term. But of course, the best asset, in my opinion, with the most predictability, given the longest period of time, is going to be real estate. That will make you the most money. So this is what I mean. I want to be in assets that have the greatest predictability over the longest amount of time. Is going to make me the most amount of money. These are the type of assets that I want to invest in. And so real quick, and I know our time is wrapping up here, I just want to share, if you're thinking about investing in real estate, or you're convinced that real estate is one of the things that you need to be invested in, continue to invest in through your lifetime. What I've seen, especially over the last couple of years, that there's one thing that most investors don't understand about real estate. Anybody want to guess what that is? Let me just exit out here and see if anybody wants to guess what that is. I'm kind of giving you the answer now, but let me know if you know what it is. The number one thing most investors don't understand about real estate is debt. Is debt. Let me give you a great example. In 08 and 09, most people lost their shirt in real estate. Why? Think about it. Where'd all the real estate go in 08 and 09? It didn't go anywhere. It's still there. What people lost was their equity. Why? Because they put short-term debt on a long-term asset. They ran out of time. Guys, not all real estate is made the same, mainly because debt products differ on real estate. And the biggest mistake most of my clients are making before they meet me is they are making a 3-year bet when what they're really looking for is a 10 to 20-year investment, because they've been lured by IRRs and high average annual returns and all these things. Hold on a sec. Let me mute that real quick.
Call from Baker E. Wild.
All right, sorry about that, guys. That's vacation right there for you. So let me get back in here. So what I said is the biggest mistake most of my clients are making before they meet me is they're making a 3-year bet when they're really looking for a 10 to 20-year investment. And so I think that's it is so key to be asking when you're looking at real estate deals is, okay, it's not just, oh, I own real estate now, or, oh, I just passively invested in this deal. Yes, you should own real estate, but does that real estate product, does that real estate investment, especially does the financing piece, the debt that backs up the real estate, guys, debt is 70 to 80% typically of a real estate asset when you purchase it. So if something makes up almost 3/4 of the investment, do not you think that would probably be the most important thing to understand? And so I would highly encourage you to be more familiar with the debt products on your real estate deals that you're investing in passively or actively, or at least ask the questions on the type of debt someone's using, why they've decided to use that debt, what are the assumptions they're making about that debt, and how much time does that debt give us? And so here's what we covered. We're wrapping up here. The Think Wealthy formula: make it, keep it, multiply it. Money is tied to value. It's good news for many of you because you have a ton of value, and I believe your value can continue to grow throughout your lifetime. If you want to win the game, own real estate, invest in your marriage. 2 types of investors. Be the one who makes money and owns assets. You'll be thankful that you are. To wrap up here, I just want to share this last thing with you. I shared that my dad passed away when he was 55 because of a stroke, but I don't. The real thief of my dad's retirement years was not his stroke. It was tragic that he died at 55 very unexpectedly. But the real thief of my dad's retirement years was worry. It was worry. I had some amazing times with my dad. I remember us going fishing. I remember us getting to do a lot of fun things in those last years. Didn't know they were last years, but those last years. But I also know that my dad was just was really plagued by worry, because he needed a money mentor to help him create a blueprint. He needed a money mentor to provide connections and alternative opportunities that he didn't have access to or didn't know where to look. And so that's why I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about helping our investors. I actually just an afternoon yesterday, I'm on vacation, but I actually went and saw one of our investors here in the Grand Junction area, because this is important to me, because I know that we're not just investing money, but we're actually helping people spend their lives better and make a greater impact. And so if you want a personalized strategy call, this is what I'm offering today. I don't have anything I'm necessarily promoting. We do have some opportunities currently with part of our company, but I'd love to do a personalized, what I call one-on-one investor blueprint call. I have opened up some time at the end of this week and the first couple of days of next week. And so if you'd like to jump on a call, this will be with me personally. And because this is with me personally, I assure you availability will fill up. And so if you would like to grab one of those one-on-one investor blueprint calls with me, this is not a sales call. This is simply a chance for me to just hear where you're at, to ask some good questions to you, and hopefully be able to provide a blueprint of what I think some helpful next steps could be. And so scan that code. Let me make sure that works. I'm going to scan this code as well. I did this at 5 a.m. this morning, so I can't promise that that everything is working here. But I just did it, and that does look. So you pull out your cameras. Just put your camera at the screen, and you will be able to select, have some time Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week. And when those slots fill up, I do not have any more time next week. So please do that. And if you're interested in learning more about our company, symphonycapitalgroup.com, like I said, we do have some opportunities available right now for accredited investors. We do maybe once a year provide an opportunity, or we seek to provide an opportunity for non-accredited investors as well. And so even if you're a non-accredited investor, I encourage you to sign up at symphonycapitalgroup.com. Process is very simple. But if you're an accredited investor today, meaning you make more than $200,000 a year, you have a net worth more than $1 million, you can get that verified by a third party. We do have some great we actually have a fixed income share class where we're providing double-digit returns to our investors right now, backed by a hard asset. Would love to chat with you about that as well. So symphonycapitalgroup.com, a place you can go learn about us. I'm going to pull this screen up while we're waiting on someone from the Quest team to come back up. But guys, I'm finished. I hope that was worthwhile your time. Would love to hear your feedback in the comments and any questions you may have. Thank you for having me on and bearing with my lack of video. I'll see if I can turn here so you can see my face, but that also might affect my audio.
Yes. Ellis, thank you so much. I think everybody can tell kind of the wealth of experience and all the wisdom that you kind of speak from. So a lot of great, useful information in there that we all really appreciate. So yeah, and I went ahead and put that website there in the comments. You guys can click on that there. And we've got a few more slides to run through. And then, like I said, we'll have a little bit of time for some Q&A. So looks like we've had a couple questions come through already. Please continue to comment if you do have any questions, and we'll get either myself or Ellis to handle those if you have questions about self-directed IRAs as well. So the first thing I want to do is kind of explain how this all relates, right? And how you can take what Ellis just presented on, what he's talking about, especially with real estate investing and how Quest kind of plays into that. If you guys are not familiar with our services and what we do. So we're a self-directed IRA custodian, and basically we allow individuals to take their retirement savings and put it into alternative assets, things that are outside of traditional investments like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, annuities, right? Anything that you more commonly think of when you're talking about retirement investing. We allow you to take that money and still, just the same way that you'd put it into Google stock or X mutual fund, or some annuity or a pension from your company, you can still utilize the tax-free benefits or tax-deferred benefits of those investments in real estate through a self-directed IRA. So that's how kind of we provide experience and provide benefit to individuals on the investment side, on the real estate side, and how you can kind of take the teachings from Ellis and couple that with what we do at Quest. So I'd like to offer as well, if you guys have questions, if you are interested in something like that, please give us a call. Me, one of the other IRA specialists on our team, we'd be happy to discuss what that looks like and how you might be able to utilize something like this. You can scan that QR code or just call that number right after this. We do have a non-automated line. So if you do call in, somebody will answer, which is something that we always kind of take pride in here to go along with our wonderful customer service. But you can also email us at iraspecialists@questtrust.com, and we'll go ahead and put that down there in the chat. But just a couple other things I want to go through really quick. This is a promotion that we currently have going on until the end of July. So for the next few weeks, if you guys are interested in setting up an account and moving some money over to invest with Ellis, invest in real estate, whatever it is you're interested in on the more private asset side, this is something you guys may be able to take advantage of. There's more details about this on our website. And then another thing, this is part of our service. It's what we call our Gold Family. Our Gold Family plan, or experiencing the Gold Family difference. It's basically a little bit more of a specialized service within Quest. where you're handled by a very specific department. You deal with them, on a regular basis, and they kind of take you all the way from step A to step Z, right? So it makes it a little bit more specialized for the individual, and that's something we can certainly discuss more if you had some interest in that. Another thing for those native Texans or people local to the Houston, Austin, or Dallas areas, we actually have an event coming up. And when I say coming up for Houston and Austin, it's actually, if you notice the date, it's actually today, this evening. We are doing something called a luau link up. It's kind of like our summer happy hour social, if you want to label it that way, where we're going to be focusing completely on networking. So if you are in the real estate space, or you're looking to get into it, looking to learn more and meet like-minded real estate investors, this is a great place to start, or just continue kind of what you already do, right? And build your network, right? They really say that your network is your net worth. And this is a guided networking session where you can see on there will be different colored lays. We'll kind of use that to categorize people, so you know a little bit more of who you're talking to, especially if you have an idea of people that you're looking to talk to. So I highly encourage you guys to scan that QR code or just go to our website. The link that Brianna just put there in the comments. Brianna is one of our other IRA specialists. You can click on that, scan that QR code, and register for the event tonight. If you're in Dallas, that'll happen a week from today. And these are all taking place in the Quest office. I believe one of the last things I have here for you guys is one of our biggest upcoming events in the Dallas area, what we call our Elite Multifamily Summit. So this actually really does tie into a lot of what Symphony does, because they are, their clients invest into multifamily. So it's a good segue into that. But this is just going over, the expertise and different fundamentals of multifamily investing. It's going to be a day-long event. You can certainly find out more details on our website, but there's going to be a whole lot of different information there, panels and experts and speakers. So I highly encourage you guys to check that one out as well. And the last one is something that's not coming up for a little while now, just about a year away or less than now, is the next Quest Expo. So if you guys have followed Quest at all, you may be familiar with the expos we've done in the past. This is going to be the biggest and best that we've done so far. It will again be out in the Dallas area. The last expo we did was probably close to 1,000 people. We had, over 40 to 50 different vendors, plenty of experts, panels. I mean, it was a weekend long event, packed full of different information about alternative investing, real estate, oil and gas. There was just a plethora and a wealth of different. So if you guys are interested in something like that, this is the type of event that you would absolutely fly into. So I certainly want to, kind of expand this to not just people in the Texas area, but regardless of where you are at in the country. If you have an interest in learning more about alternative investing, and even specifically self-directed IRAs, highly encourage you to check this one out too. And let us know if this is something you're interested in attending. But that is about all that I have for you guys today. So I kind of want to put, Ellis, are you still with us here?
Hey, I'm still here.
Okay, great. So I want to put your information back up here. And then I think we may have one or two questions to run through. So I know you briefly spoke to this one, accredited investors, but I just wanted to address it again while we can put it up on the screen.
Yeah, thanks, Don, for the question. We do work with both accredited and non-accredited investors. We don't currently have any opportunities today for non-accredited folks, just for accredited investors. But like I said, it's worth being on our email list. It's worth us scheduling a call, taking this blueprint call, because unless we have that call, of course, you won't actually qualify for when they do come. So instead of waiting, we need to go ahead and have that conversation so that we can get your system and get you approved. So that is important.
Absolutely. And we appreciate all of your questions and comments, Don. Another one that we have here, this actually might be the only other one that I'm seeing right now,
Saw that. How do you put up with tenants and toilets? I mean, here's the thing: you can't own real estate. Like everybody's got problems. You know what? No matter whatever business you're in, you're gonna have problems. So yeah, we got tenant problems. We got toilet problems. Got a lot of them. We got 1,200 of them actually. And so I would just say, if you don't, that's why working with Quest, working with Symphony, are I think the best way for most folks to invest in real estate is passively, and to do that with a trusted sponsor, to do that with someone whose job it is to deal with tenants and toilets. And because if you don't want to do that, then you don't want to be an active investor, you want to be a passive investor. So yeah, we got tenants, we have toilet problems, and problems mean money, so we like it.
Yeah, fair point there. Perfect. Well, that really brings us to a close, I guess. We'll be ending just a few minutes early. But Ellis, I just wanted to, again, say a big thank you for being on today, taking some precious time out of your family vacation. We'll let you get back to that. Enjoy the Colorado life. Thank you so much for joining us, though.
Yeah, thanks, man. Enjoyed it. Cheers, everybody. Look forward to talking with you soon.
Yeah, thank you guys, and hope everybody enjoys the rest of their week. And we look forward to seeing you tonight, for those of you in the Houston area, at the social. Thank you guys so much.